Hello, I think that we are live, which is wonderful. And hello everyone who's on our call. We probably will get a few more as we go along. But I just wanted to welcome you all and just say hello for 2022. This is our first ALA webinar for this year. And we have started to expand what we're all about. And we're expanding from just light and colour to go further into other areas like sound and energy therapies. So we have a fantastic person on our committee, and that's Lynn. She does such a good job of ferreting out and looking for wonderful people for us to interview. And she was very fortunate to find Denise Davis for us. And Denise lives in Bendigo, which is in Victoria, in Australia. So just before I introduce Denise, if anyone would like to just say hello and say where they're from in the chat, so we know where you're from. We've got Thelma in New Zealand, Lynn also in Adelaide, and Amanda too. So if there's anyone else that wants to say hello. Stephanie, also from New Zealand. Lovely. Excellent. Thanks for coming on. It's fantastic. So we may actually launch into our webinar, and let me please introduce Denise Davis to you. So Denise's sound journey began in Melbourne in 1997 when she learnt vocal toning, realising that this was the way to express her voice and teach others the value of sound healing. 3 months later, she completed the Power of Sound teacher training, which led her to conduct vocal toning workshops and perform at festivals in both Victoria and Tasmania. In 2003 to 2004, Denise trained with Tama Do, the Academy of Sound, Colour and Movement in France and also in the USA, where she first encountered the Monochord table. In 2005, she travelled to Switzerland and acquired a Monochord table, which she uses for private consultations now. Since 2013, Denise has added crystal bowl playing to her repertoire, which also includes guided imagery and tuning forks. So I'm delighted to have you here today, Denise, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Anisha. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Lovely. I thought we might launch. We're going to do a bit of an interview style today instead of a presentation with slides. So I'm actually going to ask Denise questions, and I'd highly encourage you all, if something comes up that you'd like to ask Denise as well, to enter it into the chat or questions and answers section so that I can then ask Denise that. So what we'll do is we'll do a bit of an interview style, and then Denise is actually she's pre-recorded an approximately 10-minute session, which we'll share with you. It's a video, and then we'll open up for a really lively discussion at the end of that. So Denise, if you could just tell us all a little bit about your work, how you got into it, and just elaborate, that would be really great.
Yes, well, I guess as mentioned, the sound journey started back in 1997. I went to a big sing because I've always loved singing and I've loved music. My mother and father both were musicians, so it was something that I'd always wanted to do. And I thought, well, this sounds interesting, but I had no idea it was going to lead me into toning. The big sing gentleman there, Chris, sort of gave us all these beautiful vowel sounds to sing, and it was a wonderful evening. And I went home with this little tape, and the tape had meditations on one side, but then also toning with R's and E's and Oo's and different sounds. So of course I was sounding them, and I thought, wow, this is really having an effect. The different sounds that I was making with my voice felt very healing. So it was only about a week later, I took myself off to a friend who was a naturopath and masseur, and I told her about it, and she said, make a sound. And so I started to tone. And she muscle tested me and said, that meridian's going back into balance with your toning. And that was the first thing I went, oh, there's more to this. So 7 weeks later, I was flying to Scotland to do a 1-week training session, which then led, after that, a few weeks later, to the teacher training, which was about just under 3 weeks in North Yorkshire, learning how to tone, becoming a teacher in using voice, using sounds. So that was an incredible experience that I had. So that was sort of the start of using sound as vibrations and for healing. Different experiences happened on the course. Another aha moment, I guess, is when I burnt my hand on an urn with boiling water. And with that, Chris toned my hand with frequency plus the intention of healing. He just toned. There was no thought of what sound will I make, what note will it be. It was just purely in the moment. And what happened was that the burn that I was experiencing decreased. And I thought, this is amazing. What I felt even more amazing was that when we went back from the tea break, I started to relive it in my mind of what had happened. And I started to feel a little bit of pain coming back. So I thought, wow, this is interesting. So I started internally toning to myself, and it started to ease again. So that really led me on a different way of just how healing frequency and your intention with the sounds was going to be the start of what I was going to be doing. Yeah, so that was just the first part. Yeah.
And just, I suspect most of our listeners know what toning is, but maybe you can just actually tell us what, in your words, toning actually is.
Toning, well, it's voice, but it's elongating vowel sounds. So we know the A, E, I, O, U. And in a lot of different books you'll find they use different sounds for the chakras as well and tone into the particular chakras. So with the A, E, I, O, U, we started to sound, and there's different shapes you have with your mouth as well. The U being more of a ooh, like more of a when you pucker up. Like if you want to pucker up and go ooh, ooh. So just these beautiful sounds. So in the R's and the E's, we started to experiment with all the different sounds. And I found that it was having an effect, again, on the body, just like it was on that day with the naturopath. When I started to make a sound, it had an effect in the meridians. So I realised there was so much more to that. So for me, the toning, using vowel sounds, and we can use all sorts of other sounds to make noise. Just really get in and go, just, let it all go. And just go, and then go, So depending on the different pitches and different voices, it's amazing getting people together in a group and you all start to sound and experiment with the frequencies, especially when you get into pairs and you start creating sounds together. These beautiful ohms and oohs and e's. So it's and that's what I love about it. That's you're using everything here, or the whole skull and the chambers here behind the skull too. The holes they go. The resonance, the particular resonances you get is extraordinary, and you can. So from just sort of like all incredible different sounds. So you can play, you can have fun. And it's great to have fun in a group and just, you know, let go and use your body as well. Sort of like it becomes quite percussive and where you can just enjoy it. And it's just amazing how people who don't think they have a voice, which I didn't when I was growing up. You know, I was one that sort of stood at the back of the choir, you know, at school, not wanting to make a sound. But I found with this that it's sort of freeing. It frees the voice when you can actually start to make sound. Even though you may not think you're a singer, you can still make sound, which I think really does improve not only my voice, but confidence as well, and so many other things. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
It's a big field.
It certainly sounds like it. I have so many questions that are popping up in my mind. And we actually designed a little list of questions, and I will get to some of those. But I did notice while you were singing there, it had almost I don't know what you call it, but it's like a resonant guttural sort of, there's a name for it. I don't know what it is, but it's a special type of singing that it sounds like you've developed. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The overtoning, which is something that the monks do, that's something that's sort of a very deep sound, which is, I can't get there in that really deep sound. You know, I can make sounds that are bigger and deeper, but the particular way that they use their throat, it's something I haven't really been able to master, I could say, but which is, for me, it's sort of that really honing in, especially what happened with the burning that happened on my hand, and you get a particular sort of hone in on a particular area, whether it be a bit of pain. And we might do that later when people are watching the video, or, you know, that if there is something that they feel that's a bit achy or sore, that they might want to concentrate on that while they're listening. But with that, so there's different sounds in that. That's just a little an idea of some of the sounds you can make. But, you know, if you've got any discomfort or anything, it's easy to just let go, just let those ahs come in, and just, even if you've got a little drum or little bowl at home, a little metal bowl, and just, yeah, you can just play. Play. Even if you don't, you can still use, you know, your body's for percussion, and just make the sounds. But yeah, there's very much direct sound, and there's that that overtones, and which are bigger, which is, this one is more direct into a particular point, like an acupuncture point, which you would use a tuning fork. Like if you had tuning forks of a particular note, you could actually use that fork, and that will actually pop the vibration through as well. Which leads me to the Tamado Academy with Joachim Mars. Not Joachim Mars, sorry. With Joachim Mars was the gentleman that built the table. I built the table with, but the Tamado Academy. Sorry, I'm on a different track.
All right. I was actually going to ask you about the monochord bed, now that you've actually touched on that.
Which is right here.
Beautiful. I wanted to actually ask you to explain to our listeners what it is. And then I would also love to know, I'm so curious. So you said that you made your own in Switzerland. So I'd love you to speak about that a little bit as well, if you could.
Well, I partly built it, but again, I saw it at the Tamado Academy when I was overseas. They had a couple of different sound instruments there. So it was south of France. We had two massive tents, two different classes. There was this monochord, plus there was another monochord that didn't have that barrel. You can see that it's not just a flat top with the string straight underneath it. This one has a barrel here, where you've got copper strings halfway around and stainless steel strings the other half. So when you strum it, it becomes a chord. So C and G, or C sharp, G sharp, are the usual tonings, that we use. So when you play it, the barrel then, of course, amplifies the sound, which is when someone's lying on it, they really do feel that resonance underneath.
Is it like a guitar? Is it an empty space in the middle? So it is.
So yes, there's quite the barrel that's underneath the table. Yes, it's an empty space. And on the original ones that Joachim built, I think there were a couple of holes in the top. So, but this one doesn't. This is just a flat top, which is elm on the top, and which is quite special, and it's very solid, very solid. In fact, it was the first one that he'd ever sent to the other side of the world. He had made tables and had people going over there from Switzerland and Germany mainly, and he'd sent 3 to England. That was as far as it went. So to find out about this was an incredible experience, from the Tamado to then see this instrument. And then a friend of mine, a very good friend who I met on the courses at the Tamado, told me about this instrument was in Switzerland, and I could participate in building it. So I contacted Joachim, and I thought, I'm doing it. I had no idea how to build anything before in my life. It was just one of those things of like, I just knew. It's like going over to doing the toning. I just knew I had to be there. It was one of those moments where you just have to go. And
how many strings are there? And are they all toned or tuned to the same one note?
Well, there's 55 strings, so there's stainless halfway around and copper the other half. So the silver strings, the stainless steel strings, are the G sharp. The copper strings are C sharp. So when I play it usually from the copper end, which is on the other side of the table, and I strum it underneath. So I reach the strings, but not, of course, all of the strings. But it doesn't matter because they all resonate together as soon as you start, and it's just that it starts to amplify, and especially when someone's lying there. And then, of course, the toning I introduce along the way, if it's appropriate. There will be certain times when I'll use voice, and that's just another experience as well included in that.
Forgive my naivety with music theory, but is that considered a fifth between the G sharp and a C sharp? So that's the magic ratio or harmonic.
Yeah, it's the fifth. Yeah.
Okay, lovely.
And this particular fifth just seems to resonate, and that's what we built it to. That's when I went over, and it was partly really built when I went over. I had to sand it, learn how to use a sander, and sand the instrument down, varnish it, and putting it together and putting the strings on. That was something again. It's it took a little bit of time, and it was just I think we had about 5 days together, and then I went away for probably about another 5 days because he had to obviously get wood he wasn't going to take any chances on this breaking on the way to Australia. So he had to find some hardwood in Germany, and we started to build the box for it. But yeah, he showed me how to string it, and
beautiful.
It was incredible, and we did a little bit of sound as well. Of course, they've got one in the house. His wife is a naturopath, and she would have children come on the Monochord table, and they'd go on a journey on the Monochord table, and it sounded like an amazing experience that they had. But we did a guided imagery again on the table and taking someone through sessions, and it was magical. Yeah, and then waiting for it to come back to Australia was another.
Mm.
Yeah, sort of like that.
At last, it's here, safe and sound.
Safe and sound. It had quite a journey. It had quite a journey because in the meantime of I ended up going from Melbourne to Launceston. So the first stop, of course, was Melbourne, then to via Launceston, and that's where its life began in Launceston. Before coming back into Victoria. So had quite a few amazing experiences with it.
Mm. So Denise, can you tell us a little bit about the effect of the vibration of that music that goes through the wood into people's bodies? Can you just elaborate a little bit what that does, or what the typical experience is?
Well, people feel that vibration. I think the first thing they think of, well, oh, this is hard, the table, but there's always a blanket, so it sort of softens. And after a while, people forget they're even lying on a table because the sound coming up through them, a lot of people find that they will not only relax, but I've had a few people fall asleep. And I've had a few snorers as well. So that's how relaxed people got on it. People have had so many different experiences that they've told me about afterwards, or even during, because it can actually bring up an emotional response for people as well. I've had a few people have had emotions where we've had to go through and guided imagery and just sort of really see if we can clear whatever was happening for them. And there's also people have had sort of seen colours or felt like they've gone on a journey, like they're in another country, or there's music. In fact, I've got a lovely thing here from one of the magazines that did a little article back in Launceston of her experience and what she said, which I can read out to you as well, which, her experience of like this journey that she went on. So it's different for everyone, but generally there's a relaxation and it's like something like they haven't experienced before. I guess it's some people go much deeper than others, and I guess it depends, as you said, with the vibration of it vibrates the cells, of course. So if there's something they're holding on to that needs to come up in that moment, of course, it can manifest. Not always, but yeah, again, it's different for everyone, but there is certain things that are similar with everyone that goes on the table.
I'm curious to know what type of conditions you use it for or respond better to it. I'm also curious, the idea of pain came into my mind as well, and I wondered, is it useful for painful conditions? If you could just tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, well, there's been different people at different times have mentioned. There was a lady in Tasmania at one stage. She came on, she had a sore knee, and afterwards she said, it feels so much better. And a lot of people have mentioned about their sleep, have slept better that evening. There was the gentleman that you'll see in the video, he had a sore shoulder, and afterwards he didn't even feel the shoulder. So it's, again, in that moment, it's, I think with people's intention of what they, not everyone has an intention of this is what I like to have happen. I think it's a spontaneous thing too, in a sense that it's not a cure-all for anything. It does relax. It has a frequency, so anything in that needs to be shifted can occur. So people haven't felt, have had like sore knees that might have felt better. It's not something that I guess anyone with a serious condition would find. It might relax them and they feel a lot more comfortable. But of course, that's another, what I can say is it's not a cure for anything particularly, but it does help when someone relaxes and someone gets into that vibration, that it will level out, so to speak.
I understand that well. So I imagine it's very good for stressful conditions or stress people. And I always say that if you can get a person into parasympathetic dominant mode where they're really nicely relaxed, then everything works better and the healing can occur a lot more easily. So yeah, that's fantastic. I'm wondering if this might be a good time to launch into the video. And while the video goes for, I think by memory, it's maybe 8 minutes or so. And the first part is actually Denise doing a session, and the second part is explaining some of the elements of the session. But what I'd like to encourage you all, there might be questions that come up while you're watching that. If you could just put that in the chat, that'd be great. And then we can really find out as much as whatever we want from Denise. That would be wonderful. So let me just see if I can get this started. Okay, here we go.
compared to when you first got on the table to how you feel now?
Well, I was pretty bloody stressed when I walked in the door for
Right.
other reasons.
Okay.
So I have to say magnificent, but that's because I'm coming from a fairly high point of stress. But
Okay.
it's just remarkable the different intensities of vibration based on sort of the lower based notes or strings, thicker strings. That gives you a much deeper sense of vibration, and the higher notes, and then it just feels like a crescendo. Like if you feel this, and it's lower and it's deep and it's a more impactive touch. And the higher ones you think, oh yeah, that's nice. And then all of a sudden it seems to build. And then it just subsides and you start again and you're feeling this really deep vibration. I feel on my left-hand side, I don't know why, but and then it just builds and you start, every time it builds a little bit more. Yeah. And you go, oh, this is marvellous. And all of a sudden it quietly subsides away. And then every now and again you are toning and it just adds to the complete experience. It's just fabulous.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, there are times when I do actually put, like if I've got tuning forks, which I sometimes do put on the body as well, depending if someone's got a little bit of pain in an area too. Yeah. Then I can put like the tuning fork, which is like instead of like an acupuncture, then you've got the sound coming through the tuning fork in that acupuncture point. So that will then go through into that meridian as well. So then I will come and place the tuning fork on you if that is something that's required. Yeah. Generally, it's usually after I've done the sound, I've done the actual playing, because then there's some, it comes up afterwards. Yeah, I'm feeling great, but hang on a moment, there's a little bit of touch. Something's come up that I wasn't expecting, another sore spot perhaps. And then we can also then go and place a tuning fork there if required. Right. So there is a little bit of touch, but not so much so that it distracts you from the experience. Yeah, fantastic.
You lose that concept of time. Yeah. It just seems to pull you into a space where you think, no, this is all that's important. It's the only thing that's going on. It's all I have to worry about. So it's a nice selfish place to be every now.
Well, that's very nice. So when you came in here, your stress levels were around about a 9 or a 10?
Oh, probably 14.
So how are the stress levels now?
Oh, pretty close to 0.
Oh, my gosh. So there we go, the healing power of sound.
Oh.
That was beautiful. It's phenomenal hearing the scoring system that he went from a 14 down to a 0.
That was rather extraordinary. Certainly... how he reacted, because that was the first time he'd ever, even knew about he didn't really know what the instrument was or how it worked, and and then just came on and without really knowing what was going to happen. It was amazing actually, and how he felt. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I've got questions here. I've got a little bit of a slow connection, unfortunately, and my picture's dropped off. I don't know if yours is still on there, or hopefully it is.
Yes, it is.
But you can hear me, which is really good. But I've got questions for you. Angelica, do you need to restring the monochord once in a while?
The only time I've had to put a string on because I had one break. So the strings, apart from actually there are 2. So otherwise the strings are the same ones that have been on it for, it's 2005 since they've been on the table. So it's been a while. So they keep in very good condition. It does change depending on the heat or the cold, whether it be winter or summer. You'll get a different sound, and we've had to sort of take the notes down or up depending on whether, I think that the strings start to get a bit tight, and so instead of knowing that they might break because of the atmospherical changes, then, we sort of take it down a little bit. But otherwise they're very robust actually. As you can see when you're looking at the video, that they're quite strong.
It's beautiful. I've also got another question here from Angelica, and she's asking if there's a certain pattern that you follow when you play the instrument, or is it done intuitively?
I guess playing sort of in that sort of strum or that slowness or a bit faster, it is a feeling of when someone's on the table, when maybe to go a little bit faster or a little bit slower. I mean, it's similar, I guess, to most of the sessions, but with a few little changes here and there. Depending on what's happening with the person on the table, of course. But generally, it is a much the similar sort of thing that you would use. And sometimes I'll just strum one moment and then a longer one. Again, it's in the moment, really.
Intuitively. Lynn's also asking you a question, and she's asking you, what would happen if you strummed from the other side of the table? Is sound composition or laterality? Sorry, I find that word, important or incidental? Is it important to the process?
I've tried it on the side with a stainless steel. And it has a slightly different sound. I somehow prefer it with the copper strings. I'm kind of more used to that deeper. I think it's that C sharp that I sort of enjoy that sound. I mean, I have sometimes gone around the other side. Again, I think it's just a preference, really, just whatever. But I tend to stay on one particular side. But again, you could do either.
Yeah, it's interesting with colour. There's something called lateral light therapy, and sometimes a certain part, the lateral aspect of the eye is stimulated on one side to affect the other side of the brain.
Oh, I see.
And I just want, that's quite an interesting question that Lynn had. Maybe that's something we've not thought about, but it's quite an interesting question. Maybe you might think about it and see if there's...
Absolutely. Thank you, Lynn, because, to sort of change it up a little bit, and it's sort of going over the other side, having a strum, then you can. There's no reason why you can't go. I mean, you wouldn't do both sides in the one session because otherwise it would disrupt the person being on the table. So I guess you would stick with one. There were moments a long time ago when I did actually have a chair on the other side and went over and did a little bit more on the other side. So I guess it's, whatever works in the moment, really. But thank you, because I hadn't thought about that with the brain being, there's a different hemisphere playing on one side. I guess the sound with the toning, of course, then would change on the other side of the body as well. So perhaps it would be good for me to look at that, actually.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Another question for you as well. Would you be able to do a session remotely? That's a wonderful question, given with what's on our planet at the moment.
You certainly could play a bowl, teach toning, go through a sound meditation when it's online. The table, people would hear the table, but they wouldn't feel the vibrations in their body. So it is something that you would really need to be able to experience by being on it. And it's not something, I suppose, you wouldn't get near the same experience. You could hear it as everyone did then, but if you could tune in, there might be a little bit of a feeling of, I don't know how Angelica thought, whether she, it was in a different part of the body she was feeling it, or just by listening, but certainly being on it, it's a whole body experience and a little bit more, because it's also that, as what Mark was explaining, with there was the table and there was the voice, there was just something else that was there, which is something that's mentioned in the article, which I'll read out to you when we've got an appropriate moment, which will probably explain that a little bit.
Okay. Excellent. Lynn's made another comment here
Mhm.
too, which I'll just read out to you. So she's saying also the masculine, feminine sides of the body, and southern versus
Mhm.
northern hemisphere, the feng shui orientation.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
probably asking a little bit of curiosity about that, if that's anything to comment on that.
Yeah. I know with the hemispheres, generally where we had it in the last place we were in, it was certainly more of a north-south orientation. This particular room, of course, is the other way around. So instead of being north-south, I guess it's more east-west. So I guess that would have a different effect as well. But also the different rooms that it's in, or even the materials that are around, it can change. Like the other place, there was a brick wall on one side. So there was different variations, I guess, in experience. But I do understand that north-south, yeah, it's just a very different east to west at the moment. It is something we could change, but it seems to fit up against the wall where it currently is, because it seems to fit the room better this way.
That's always a consideration, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's experimental.
Yeah. I've also got another, is it a comment or a question? I'll just read it out. It's from Gary. As a monochord player, people can still have profound spiritual and well-being experiences with the sound over the internet. It's like there is an energy behind the music, with a smiley face he puts there. But yes, in person, you feel it better. So that's good feedback. Thank you, Gary, for
thank you.
Please know that. And I certainly felt that too. There's listening to your video, it certainly has a profound effect, just even through the internet.
I guess that's something that I can do, and give a session over the internet with it. It's just very different, I guess, playing it while someone's in another. It's not present, so here, like physically. But yeah, I guess it can be done. And obviously, there's some of the people listening and watching are experiencing some different things. And yourself, as you said, you could feel there was a different resonances happening.
Excellent. We don't have any more questions, but if you wanted to read your article, now might be a good time. And if anyone else wants to put anything in before we sign off, then while Denise is reading that.
I'll just, because it's starting to change the light in here, so I'll read it out. And this was an article, again, from a lady in Launceston that had a magazine. And she recalls the session. She says, I remember the sound of the music as Denise played was heavenly. I vaguely remember the sound of monks chanting, although there were no monks present. The sound of Denise's voice and another one singing, but there was no one there but the two of us. I forgot about the table, which felt now like a soft cloud bed, and slipped comfortably into its embrace. And from there she said, if nothing else, have a go to experience the loving embrace of the musical notes surrounding you. I may be biased, but I loved it and I still don't know why. So again, it's something that she felt. She had another experience of something else was going on over that, which a lot of people have said that to me, that they were contacted, or they felt they were in different places, or contacted loved ones as well, which is something that was that happened in the moment, where they felt loved ones close that had passed. And we did a little bit of a guided imagery on that one as well. One of the, I had a young boy come on, his mother brought him, who was disabled, very severely disabled actually. And he couldn't speak. He made sounds, and he had hearing aids. They had to take the hearing aids out, and he lay there for the whole session. And I only found out a week later that he slept the whole night through, which he'd never done before. So something soothed whatever was happening with the condition that he had, just by being on the Monochord. So,
that's
which
beautiful.
I thought was an amazing thing. But yeah, people have said some beautiful things about their experiences, and yeah, I'm so grateful to have gone over and actually got to put some of my energy into it, and then and bring it back.
That's so
wonderful.
So you're in Victoria, so anyone who might be travelling to Victoria, do you have a website or something if someone actually wanted to have a session with you? Is there something that people could check, or maybe we can add your contact details?
Yes, because there's an email address that they can contact me. The Resonant Sound Facebook page I have is more about the bowl and the sound and the workshops that I do with that, which of course is always out in, with a whole group of people. And so it's a very different than just having this private session here with the table. But they can contact me. Well, I can give you the details for them. And if anyone's coming past and or interested, even just to find out more, or as you said, a session that's online. And I notice we've got some New Zealand people with us at the moment too.
We do.
The beautiful friend that I have that was on the course with me at Tamado lives in New Zealand, and if I would need to check, but she also does some sound healing as well. So there might
What's
be something
her name?
we could link up. Her name is Hillary.
Surname?
Well, I think I want to just double check first. I think before I start endorsing that they can come and
for sure, that's fine.
have a sound treatment with her. But it's
lovely. Do you actually have a website that we could share with everyone?
The website is still in progress at this stage of adding some things, so it's not quite there yet. But you can send me a message, which is it's resonantsounds.aus@gmail.com. But we can put that up.
Okay. Sorry, I'll superimpose that on the video for everyone so they can see that. Yeah,
the Resonant Sounds Facebook page at the moment has been more about the bowl, and again, I think with lately, because we haven't had as many clients, you could say, in the current climate. So yes, so that's had a bit of a backseat as well. But yes, certainly can do lots of different things with the bowl, with toning, teaching sound, and also this beautiful table behind me as well.
I'd love to be on that table. I would absolutely love to have a session. Well, if I get over there, when I get over there, I'll be calling you.
That's great.
Yes. Was there anything else you wanted to add? I just wanted to tell you some of the lovely comments that people have made. Totally fascinating. And what else? Wow. And it's just wonderful. So
that's fabulous. Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be able to talk about it, because it's this particular monochord is the only one in Australia. So, or as far as I know, that it is of this particular variety anyway. So I think there's little monochords more that people play sort of more for music, but as a therapeutic instrument, I'm very privileged to be able to have it and share it and talk about it, which is wonderful.
I'll just add at the end here, I have a friend, Stefan, who lives in my country town, and he's a sound buff as well. He loves sound therapy, but he told me that if you got a guitar and actually tuned them all to the one sound, so it's really a traditional monochord, one chord, and use that to play it and put it up against the body, that you can get some sort of effect of that vibration as well through the body.
Through the spine by, having a sitting,
Oh, and also there's, Gary's making a comment here. There is a full-size table monochord in Port Douglas in Queensland.
Oh, my goodness.
Feel Tone. Excellent. Good to know.
Wow. And that might be one that's got the flat strings underneath. It's interesting because there are a lot of the tables in America, and the one that Tamado has, of course, is just a straight string straight under the wood that don't have the barrel. So this is from Europe, whereas I know that there are ones in America that have that. So it could possibly be one of the an American one. I'll have to look it up.
Lovely.
So that's fantastic. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Denise. That's really wonderful. And there'll be a recording for everybody and everyone who's missed it, of course, or if you want to listen to it again, we'll be posting that up soon. So thank you. And all the best to you, Denise. And
thank you so much, Manisha. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for being here and listening. And hopefully you've learned a few things. And, it's... Let me know if there's anything else that I can help with, and give me an email or be glad to share more.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, all the best to you, Denise, and to everyone else. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.